This week in Counter-Strike, Furia win their first ever Tier 1 LAN event and Molodoy carried them. There's a new NA prospect that many people think is cheating and we're not really sure yet. And s1mple asks to be humbled and then immediately gets humbled. Yeah, just use that. Alright, so let's start by talking about Furia winning this FISSURE Playground event. Now, I personally didn't see this one coming because it's not like it's one of those events that doesn't have some of the best teams there. It's a pretty legit event and we walk away with Furia winning and Molodoy getting the MVP. What are your thoughts about this?
I mean, if Molodoy is going to play like that, Furia have a chance of beating pretty much anyone. And the way they played at this event was really high level. I don't know if I'd say it's a huge surprise, because I definitely would have put them in that top tier of teams like Furia, Mongols, Falcons, G2. Maybe Falcons even kind of below that because we had seen them fail a little bit recently. They were in the top tier, but yeah, I mean, you would have expected Mongols most likely to pull this out, especially because Molodoy has had some troublesome performances in the past. So to see him pop off like that, it's inspiring. And to see Fallen at the age of 75 come out of his retirement home and actually win an event is unreal, dude.
It is unreal. I mean, maybe he knew something that we didn't by switching to IGL. We talked about this a few episodes back now. It's been a few months ago, actually, where he's switching to IGL after opting for his entire career. But for Molodoy, I guess...
Switching to rifle.
That's what I meant to say. Switching to rifle and IGLing instead of op IGLing. And I guess that was the right choice because this Molodoy kid is actually insane. I mean, people have been talking about his performances at every event that they go to, despite kind of bowing out in the quarterfinals or the semifinals of the tournaments. He's still very impressive. And I'm glad that they did win this event over the Mongols. So there isn't going to be an asterisk next to this W. However, it is worth mentioning that Vitality and Spirit aren't at this event. So we'll still have to see how they do going into future Tier 1 lands. But, I mean, for now, I'm definitely impressed, and I hope that we can see them keep playing. Today's video is sponsored by s1mple. Now, if you're not familiar with s1mple, this is a trade site that allows you to take some of the old and crusty skins out of your inventory, and you can actually trade them in for something a little bit new, a little bit shinier than what you have right now. And it's really easy to do this, actually. All you need to do is log in through Steam, pick the skins that you don't want to use anymore, grab the ones that you do, and then click trade. All trades will pretty much happen immediately, and any balance that you don't use in your trade actually stays on the site for you to use for any future trades that you decide to do. And right now, if you use the link in the description, you can actually get a 35% deposit bonus, and that's good for up to $100. So let's say you deposit $100, you would actually get $135 on the site if you use my link. So make sure you check out s1mple, and let's hop right back into the video. And it is, again, inspiring to see Fallen lead this team again. Like he said 75, but he's getting up there. He's an unk now, but it's good to see him lead this team over the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, it's inspiring to my camp, okay? Austin is still a youngin'. He's still in his early 20s, I think.
Yep.
But me, I see that, and I load up CS and think to myself, I could still do it. Yeah. No, I absolutely could not. Maybe because I was never really all that good. But I think this team really, they've got good calling. They've got like all the meta utility. They've got all the best like execs that they actually put in the research, which is surprisingly like a lot of teams take a while to pick up the right, like the meta stuff sometimes because they're just too busy going to every event, but they still are going to live and die by Yakindar and Molodoy. And if they're going to beat top teams like the Mongols, they're going to require Yakindar and Molodoy doing well, which is what they did. But the question is how they're going to perform against the teams that aren't there. Maus, I think they've played Maus and
I actually forgot about
well.
Maus.
But Maus, Vitality, and Spirit, like how they match up against those teams, because it is a team that they do so many things right, but the firepower, I think, is fairly top heavy, and you know you're generally going to get a good series out of Caserado. It's just that Molodoy is yet to be perfectly consistent. Once he gets that consistency, I think this team is going to be insane.
It'll be really hard to play against them for sure. Now, I actually do want to briefly touch on this because I don't have much to add, but Falcons getting 3rd, 4th at this event, definitely underwhelming for them. Of course, we did know that they picked up Kyosuke as like their blockbuster move. They wanted to win every event that they go to after that, and they still haven't even made the finals of an event. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't think they have. Because I think the events they got to the finals of were just before they picked up Kyosuke, right? They got to Melbourne and Rivals finals.
Yeah, and they had those crazy best of 5s against Vitality. But yeah, so far, underwhelmed by this performance, but we'll see if they can get it together before the major. But there is one final talking point about this event, which is the FaZe and Liquid angle, because obviously we talked about last week how Twist is rejoining FaZe. It's not actually rejoining FaZe. He's already joined FaZe. I checked before they played their elimination game against each other, and if you go to Twist's Twitter profile, he's player for FaZe Clan. He's got the FaZe banner. Like, he is a FaZe player, but he was playing against them while on Liquid. Now, despite Liquid winning, it does just bring up a conversation. You know, Richard Lewis would probably be all over this. A big conflict of interest. I don't know the specifics about how this works. I don't know how this is allowed. I was assuming Liquid would have to play with their coach instead of Twist, but they didn't do that. And then Liquid decided to have one of the best tournaments that they've had in the last 2 years.
I don't know if I would go for them playing with their coach, because I feel like that causes a different problem, because it just pushes the conflict to earlier, because then you're going to try and do different things to avoid each other. I would have really appreciated if the tournaments they just said, look, fuck book holes. You're not going to play each other. And the reason for that is, look, it's obvious that Twist didn't do anything wrong here, that he played quite well. He was doing his best. But the way you have to look at this is, in the previous season, in the previous years, I don't think this would really have mattered. I don't think teams would really... It is a conflict of interest, potentially, but I don't think it was the biggest deal of all time. I would be somewhat okay with allowing it. But right now, the situation that people don't realize that is happening now is, because of those wins that Liquid got, they are now almost guaranteed a major slot if they don't do anything else, which would end up causing Twist to be on the starting roster of Liquid. So I think he wouldn't even be able to play for FaZe for the major or something if they dropped out of these next couple of events that they went to, because they knew they needed the VRS. Now they need to not lose VRS, so they shouldn't even be going to the next tournaments. But I'm assuming they will. Then you have this problem where, let's imagine for a second, because of this loss, you actually don't even need to imagine it, that really hurt the VRS situation for FaZe. So imagine, because of this loss and then the following results in the season, FaZe missed the major. Okay? The next time you have this type of conflict, that player, you can't even blame him if he doesn't try his hardest. Because how could you possibly potentially see the evidence of FaZe? It's not a far off possibility. They could miss the major or be in a weaker stage of the major because of this, at least partially because of this loss. And the next time this happens, you really think to yourself, yeah, this guy's going to fuck himself over, because not only could FaZe be in a weaker spot in the major, Liquid could just have Twist on their starting roster now if they did the smartest thing for their team in terms of VRS. It's a double whammy of VRS implication that could completely fuck Twist in two different ways. And then we look at how this could work in the future. Nobody's going to look at that and go, yeah, I'm really going to put in my best work in this match. I really hope we win. Look, not that they're going to throw necessarily, but they're certainly not going to be trying their hardest. And can you even blame someone? Could you blame someone for that? I don't think you could.
Right. So just to be clear for everybody who's watching, we're not accusing any conflict of interest, like nobody threw the game. But what Vu's talking is, basically, with everything that's happened in the future, if somebody does end up, not playing their best game, not throwing, of course, but, there's no incentive for them to win. You help the team you're about to leave, and then you hurt the team you're going to join. And now, if you're Twist, you're completely right. The chances that FaZe miss the major are higher now. The chances that Liquid are gonna have to try to use Twist for the major it's still there. And in general, it's really messy. I don't know if I would go so far as to say the tournament organizers should try to have them not play each other, because then that's also kind of weird.
You have different options.
You have a lot of options.
There are other 2-2 teams. It wouldn't have been the exact right thing. But there are other 2-2 teams they could have played against. No? Was Gamer Legion and Astralis were both 2-2?
Yep.
They were, right? And Pain and VP were both 2-2, right? You could have them play one of those other teams. And that, in my eyes, would be much less of a conflict of interest than this. And again, the point is the VRS implications and the roster, the fact that you have to play 5 games before the major with a roster for it to be your starting roster, make this so much more significant than it ever was before. And I'm saying, if nothing goes wrong here, then we're in the same spot we were previously, where it's a problem, but it's not the end of the world. But if one of these, if Liquid just dumps those next two events and Twist is stuck on their starting roster, they never would have dumped those if they lost. And or if FaZe is in a weaker spot, weaker starting position, they start stage 1 or whatever instead of stage 2 or stage 3, then you're looking at like, how could you, Austin, how could you really blame the next person for not putting 100% into the game? Again, not throwing, but just being like, I don't even want to win. Like, I'm just going to show up and just like, hopefully we lose. That's good. That would be their mentality.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. No, I agree with you 100%. And I think that this really comes down to, here's the biggest issue. Why are we doing transfers before a tournament? Why are we announcing transfers before a tournament? You're putting so much additional, like, there doesn't need to be this much confusion and this much discussion and like what is happening. Why can't we just wait to announce Twist after this event was over? Did it have to happen the day before?
It was the roster lock. Yeah, it was the roster lock.
But the roster lock is separate from what the team has to announce publicly, right?
Yeah, but if the team doesn't announce it publicly, isn't that just the same
yeah,
problem?
I suppose you're right. I didn't know about the roster lock thing, but that's still ridiculous. Like, I don't know. And then if that's the case, then what's Liquid going to do if Twist does end up playing like at the major with FaZe? Do they have to play with somebody else?
It's not on Twist. It's on Liquid. If they play, I believe if they play 5 games with their new roster, with whoever they're replacing Twist with, that is their roster going into the major. But if they said, hey, we're major secured, the only way we don't make the major is if we lose at some of these events we're going to, fuck it, we won't go to those events, then Twist is actually stuck on their roster. And I don't know how exactly that works.
Yeah, I have no idea. But again, we talk about this all the time on the show. VRS is so weird and so messy. Yep. And there's like a lot of things that are going to have to get ironed out. And this is a pretty big one. But one thing that I do want to bring up now is it's been almost a week or so since FaZe have announced Twist, and they have not said for who yet. I don't know about you, but the longer that this goes on, the more I think that it's going to be somebody like Kerrigan, or it's almost likely to be Rain at this point. I mean, as much as I hate to admit it, because if it was Jacob, I'm pretty sure the second that they were done, they would have just said, yeah, see it, bro. They didn't even give him an opening a hype video or, you know, like a little montage. He just kind of got signed with a picture on Twitter. So I feel like if they were going to drop him, they probably already would have. And yeah, it's weird. They also didn't say when Twist was going to join the roster, so it could very well be the case. He has
to be on their team for EPL, because that's the only reason they would have announced it, right? Like, that's the only reason they would have announced it, is because they needed to beat that roster lock for the next EPL.
When does the next event start?
It should have been 2 weeks from when they announced it.
Okay, so the next event is in 6 days, which means any time now. Wait, but FaZe aren't playing EPL.
Are they not?
Unless they're in the second stage. Okay, FaZe are playing October 3rd. Yeah, the second stage. All these events have 2 stages now. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm really curious. I hope they just announce this soon so that I can figure it out and stop stressing.
It's gonna be Ren.
Stop. Don't put that out there. You know what? Actually, maybe this is actually a good thing for Liquid to lose Twist, because there's a new NA prospect out there. I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is No Cries. He's nuts, and there's a pretty good chance that I don't want to say, but there's a pretty good chance that he could be cheating. I don't know how much research you've done into this, but this guy has the same stats as Donk on Face It. He just recently hit number 1 elo as well on the ladder. Ranked number 1.
I actually, when I was looking at, the funny thing is, I saw people tweeting about No Cries, or like just posting about him a while back, and I saw it, and I just, in my mind, I wrote that off immediately, that was Donk using the streamer like hide feature, because like it was just a weird name, and I was like, oh, this is like one of those names they give you when you're like hiding your real name, and it's like the joke was that you know it's Donk because you can see the stats. Like, I thought that was the point, and then I now realized that it was actually like its own it was actually a different person, which is crazy to me. I haven't watched much of his gameplay, I have to admit, so there's not that much that I can say. Someone told me that he was talking to No Cries, and No Cries has like 15,000 hours in CS Source and CSGO, which actually made me a little more sus than anything else, because when you have a player that is like as good, I've seen some of the highlights of No Cries. when you have a player with aim that good, that's not like, okay, there's an ability to improve your aim through practice, obviously, but a lot of your aim is hand-eye coordination, and a lot of that is just like, I'm just gonna say, I think a lot of that is talent. Like, you have someone like Donk, Rops, Kyosuke, Zaiwu, like all of the best players, they have thousands and like tens of thousands of hours, but they were noticed pretty early on, and that's part of why they have so many hours, because they got noticed and picked up to a team or given some guidance like very early on. If you could have 15,000, if you could be this good, I find it a little more, honestly, more suspect that you could have that many hours in CS Source or CS 1.6 and CSGO,
Well,
and not have been noticed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree 100%. But according to him, he's only 18. So if he is 18 with that many hours in the other games, and he also doesn't have those games on his profile, I'd like to add, he's on a completely fresh account. He doesn't have any evidence of having a second account. I mean, if he says he does, that's cool. Where is it?
Okay. Just to be clear, I was talking to someone that said he was talking to NoCries.
Okay, so
it's like
okay.
third-hand information, but that's what I've heard,
even if that were to be true, that still doesn't change the point of he's on a brand new account. His FaceIt account has like 1,000 games, which sounds like a lot if you're watching this and you're a casual player, but that's really not. 1,000 FaceIt pugs, and he's 4K elo. Like, think about that. That means that he's won like the vast majority of his games, and it's like almost probably 80% of his games he's won, and in those games he's carrying every game. Like, he's non-stop always doing the right thing. Now, I did watch some of his games, and his crosshair placement is good, his util knowledge is good. He is very clearly a player that knows how to play the game. Like, even if let's say he's not cheating, he would still be a good player. If you got him on your team, you'd be winning a lot of games. But the way that he's going about it, it all has plausible deniability. But I'm thinking that if you watch Donk in the same context, in the same rounds, he probably still wouldn't even look that sharp. Like, I'm not trying to like go out on this witch hunt, which you've already kind of done for him, admittedly, but I'm not trying to like, say he has to be a cheater because of, him having Donk stats, or he has to be a cheater because of the way he plays. But it's just so likely. Like, I don't understand why he's hiding his account. This is the other thing. Like, everybody's got their attention on him now. So they invited him to go to this Fragadelphia in New Jersey, which is happening right now at the time of recording. And he had a team that wanted to have him go, and he said he would go. So that was cool. We were going to get to see a LAN debut. He then goes on to say that he had a family emergency and can't go, but he played pugs all day instead. So, we can see that on FaceIt, and I'm not so you couldn't go to LAN because you had a family emergency, but you played pugs all day. So then what's going on here? Now, again, I don't know the full context, but all these things are adding up, and they just make him look so suspicious. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I hope that they can get him to LAN. I hope that we can see that he's a legit player, because that would just be the most exciting outcome here. But the reality is, without having a background on this guy, without knowing who he is, without being able to see him play LAN, he has no league experience. He has nothing going for him, no reputation. He could be anybody, and most likely, I still lean towards he's a cheater.
Austin, keep in mind though, like, we did just get the example just recently of a player that did dodge a whole bunch of LANs and did turn out to be legit. Or we assume as much because he's still playing well, which is Exotic.
Yeah.
That just happened.
That did just happen.
So it is obviously a really bad sign, like 100%, but it is not.
It's not like damning.
Disqualifying.
It doesn't mean that he has to be a cheater, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's definitely not a good look.
It's not a good look. It looks pretty damn terrible to be like, everyone's calling you out and you miss a LAN. But at the same time, like, you can't think of it from the other direction. Like, if you're this guy and you think about it, like, everyone's calling you a cheater, you know that if you go to this LAN and you play badly, they will be certain that you're cheating. And maybe you're just like, you just feeling a lot of anxiety about it. Maybe you do have something going on that you're like, I've got something going on in my life at the same time that, like, it's gonna distract me. And then you could get in your own head about how well you're going to perform at that event. I could see that.
I 100% agree.
100%.
Yeah. Again, he has plausible deniability for everything, but I know I'm not the only person. I'm just waiting for something. He's gonna slip up eventually, or he won't, and he'll go on to be our NA savior, which I'm also okay with. There's a few other things that I want to talk about this week, Vu. I don't know if you saw s1mple tweeted that he said the games have been boring recently, and he needs a good team to come and humble him, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Well, today they played a game versus a team called Alliance, and they got absolutely humbled. So. Yeah, that's pretty funny. I mean, I think s1mple, he knew that when he sent post on that tweet, you have to know what's coming next, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's s1mple being simple. That is what MOUZ could never, okay, have that much like aura. Because listen, I want to just a slight aside on how shit talking works. Anyone that like waits to shit talk until after they win the game they're a fucking coward in my mind, okay? If you think someone sucks, if you think that you're like the hot shit or something like that, and you want to talk shit before the game and talk shit during the game, okay? That's confidence. Waiting to win and then talking shit, and I see people like this happens, you see this on Reddit and stuff, where it's like after someone makes a prediction and the prediction is wrong, people will go, terrible prediction, knew it the whole time. And it's like, if you actually believed that, you would have said it beforehand. And obviously, the reason that it takes guts to do that, and s1mple, this is part of why s1mple has aura, because it can go terribly wrong, and you will get memed for it in situations like this.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. It's funny. It's okay. They took one best of 3 loss. I'm sure it's not going to change how they're doing in their grand scheme of team trajectory. s1mple's still farming. We talked about that last week. He honestly, we talk about it every week because again, he's just putting up some fantastic numbers. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll do a deep dive at some point and have a look at how much s1mple is actually carrying, or maybe there's something to say about BC Game as a team. Maybe they're actually playing good and elevating s1mple, or maybe he's just hard carrying. I haven't really looked at any other games. Of you?
I've watched a couple games, and s1mple is carrying pretty hard. I wouldn't say they're an amazing fundamental team, but they're a couple moves away. I think 1 or 2 moves away from being relative, like at the top of like that second tier of teams, like breaking into tier 1 type level in my mind.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, maybe s1mple could go to a team like NAVI, but you know what? Actually, NAVI don't need him. They just want a tournament too. Albeit it wasn't necessarily the greatest tournament of all time, and obviously I'm just poking fun that they're playing this Starladder tournament instead of the FISSURE tournament. But I guess it's cool that they won. There was some pretty good teams there, like NIP or the Gentle Mates. Yeah. Everybody's favorite team, the Gentle Mates.
It's always good to see the team that you support win, and it's always good for confidence, especially when you have a team like NAVI recently, which is I think they have the individual skill in theory to be much better than they are, and they have the system to be better than they are, but it seems like kind of players maybe aren't buying into the system the way they once did. And I think going to an event like this and just showing like, hey, this does work. We can just destroy all of these weaker competition. We can get a win. I think that's like a confidence building win. But the reality is NAVI should be beating NIP every time. Like, I would have liked NIP to bring them the 3 maps because I do like NIP in general. And I think they've got some talent on that roster, but you expect NAVI, you see them play NIP, Passion UA, and 9-9. You're expecting them to win every game.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's good. Maybe a confidence booster. Alexi B talked about that in an interview right after they won, like an hour ago. He said that after Cologne, their expectations were higher, and they needed to just... I'm paraphrasing the hell out of this because I can't pull it up right now because my Chrome is broken. But yeah, he just said that they needed to get some confidence back, and I think this is good. This is good. Now, I will say that these 2 tournaments, that being FISSURE and Starladder, are being played on the newest CS update, which has been causing quite a bit of outrage in at least the scene that I know. Zentaras posted about saying the spray was terrible. Nico was very vague and said that they made the game worse every update. Myself, I first time that I'm gonna go on the record and say this update is terrible. I genuinely don't even want to play the game because the movement stuff, like I'm just getting stuck on everything. You'll be running and then you just like get stuck in place. I can't. That stuff bothers me so much. Like I cannot stress how bad this recent update has been, and I'm really surprised that they decided to play on the newest patch for this FISSURE event. I don't know why they wouldn't just roll it back. Because it was some issues for sure. I will say the patch note said that it was like to change sub-tick consistency to make it better, and the shooting part of this update feels really nice, but it's again very much not as noticeable because you're getting stuck on stuff so often that's what I'm mostly focusing on.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably I really don't understand why FISSURE wasn't playing on the rolled back patch. Like it just seems like such a weird decision from them. And then you look at it and it's like you have some of the top players complaining, which is just not good, like as a mentality thing to like, you're kind of like psyching yourself out. And then you have Xantarez, they go and they lose immediately to a Liquid that they really should be beating pretty much 100% of the time. So not the greatest result coming out of that either, but I don't know. I haven't played quite enough on the patch to have too much opinion on it. I usually have some faith in Valve that they'll fix this type of thing. And the shooting thing does seem to be that they lowered the shake when you're shooting.
That actually got reverted already. So that was a bug. Really? Yeah, that was a bug, but I liked it. That part I actually really enjoyed, but they ended up reverting that one. So
okay, that's wild.
I'm not really sure what they've done in terms of consistency, but it does still feel good. I did like the day that I got to play with that spray. It felt nice, but you know, if that's not how it's supposed to be, then so be it. In general, though, I think the state of the game is all right. This update has definitely soured how I feel about the game as a whole, but I do think that we're still heading in the right direction. I hope that they can fix this very soon, though. Like, if I have to go play this Fragadelphia LAN against, like, Fnatic and I'm getting stuck on stuff, dude, like, I might just... that's it, dude. That might be the end.
Yeah.
Because then I can... but at least I'll have an excuse to why we lost. Dude, the game's fucking shit, dude. I stuck on everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to play at a high level, it can be, I'm sure, so frustrating to have, like, you be getting used to the game and feel like you're getting to a confident, comfortable level, and then you're just immediately kind of like thrown into like you have to relearn everything. Like that just sucks. But
yeah,
that's CS. I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, we can also just very briefly talk about this this new case that they added to the game as well. The Genesis terminal. It's not really anything that we would normally talk about on this show, but I do want to say that I think that this is not a great look for what Valve is doing with like setting case and skin prices. I don't know if you even know that much about it, Vu, but yeah, I mean the new terminal thing is like you get a skin and then you have to pay for it after. It's pretty bad.
I've seen people complaining about this, and honestly, I just don't care that much. So I haven't looked into it because I don't estimate that I'm going to give a shit. Honestly,
I mean, it doesn't affect the game at all, but it just like I don't like that either. So it's been a pretty rough week in terms of CS updates, but in general, it's still again heading in the right direction. I hope.
I hope. Yeah, I hope too. We'll see if it keeps. We'll see if it gets better, Austin. We'll see.
So Furia won an event. The game is broken, and we have a potential cheater in North America, but that is just this week in Counter-Strike.